got a favorite Laker?
I love Kobe Bryant because I want him to have sex with me. Woo!
It's gone! Oh my God!
Well, you always give me a hard time. You don't ever give me the credit I really deserve.
You're good at commentating, so stick to commentate. Let me do the fight.
Here we go!
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for listening. This is the Cooper and Rupert podcast with Mikey Rupert, your co-host, and Doug Cooper, also your co-host.
You're more of the host.
Did I say Coopert?
Maybe we're becoming one person.
We're both. We co-host this together.
Yeah.
That's why both of our names are on the podcast. But this is the Cooper and Rupert podcast, and it is March the 2nd, and it is 1:30 p.m. So it's a little bit of a mix-up. We normally have recorded these towards the evening, but because Doug wants to watch the movie stars powder each other's asses, we decided to move the podcast up a little bit today.
I have to see who wins. I have to see what they're wearing. I have to see the red carpet. This takes time. I got things to do today.
What is the big headline of the Oscars going into this? Like, what is the marquee award?
I think it's a interesting best picture.
It's always best picture, right?
It's a good race this year, though. A lot of good movies. And then I think best actor, it's a pretty loaded field. Mikey. The field is loaded, some would say. And
we're in Hollywood, baby.
And I think that's going to be an interesting race, too.
What's up for the best picture?
12 Years a Slave. There's like 9 of them. I don't know.
Have you seen them all?
I've seen most of them, yeah. 12 Years a Slave, Gravity. That's it. There's 2.
That's how bad my the award, or you only seen 2?
I think those are the 2 that are in the most contention to actually win it. I think Wolf of Wall Street, Dallas Buyers Club was nominated. I think Captain Phillips, Philomena, which I didn't see. I don't know. People can read it. It's available. That information is available via Google.
What would you want to win if you got to pick?
12 Years a Slave. That movie touched my soul.
I presume that movie was about slaves.
Yes, it was about slavery. It was probably the definitive. I mean, I thought it was a very, really amazing. It's like, I don't want to be that guy who's like, it's an important film because that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
I feel like people immediately roll their eyes and just want to slap you. But I do think it was a movie that was important. I think it was like a definitive, very powerful statement about slavery in general. Is that a good way to start the podcast? We talk about slavery.
Well, hey man, where this is it's anything goes on the Cooper and Rupert podcast.
Let's just open with some slavery talk. Keep it light.
Talking slaves, and now we're going to transition into sports, which is what we're actually here for.
Yeah.
Doug and I just ran a moment ago 40-yard dashes for the combine. We felt like we needed to get into the mood.
Yeah.
We have posted that video on YouTube.
We will, yeah.
Yeah, well, we haven't done it yet, but by the time this gets to your ears, that video will be available for us. And it'll be on our website as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to create another tab on the website. It's going to be the video channel, and I think Doug and I will continuously put a couple nice vids up on the page, so you guys will be able to keep it up. But we ran 40-yard dashes, and it was... It was an altering event.
Life-altering?
Slightly life-altering, more of a depressing, because I had spent the last 30 minutes trying to recover.
Yeah, you immediately went into the bathroom and were in there for like 15 minutes.
That was bad. I thought I was going to throw up. Like, that's how bad of a shape I'm in. I mean, and it's not like I did all that pain to run a 4.340. I ran a 5.48. Which I believe, now we've got a few numbers here, but there is not one player in the NFL slower than us. Is that correct? You ran a 5.50, I ran a 5.48, that's basically the exact same time.
Yeah.
Maybe I was slower on the button.
We looked in the combine, and so the results being, okay, so there were 2 people who ran the same times as us. Your time was 5.48, which was the same time as David Yankee, who's an offensive guard from Stanford, who is 6'5" and 315 pounds. So he's just a monster, and he ran the same time as you. Every punter who chose to ran a faster time than us, significantly, by more than half a second.
Okay.
Let's see. I ran the same time as Chris Watt, an offensive guard from Notre Dame who weighs 321 pounds and was injured. So that's what I'm working with. Eric Ebron. Other notable time, Eric Ebron, a tight end from North Carolina, pulled his hamstring on his first attempt running the 40 and in his second attempt, still ran it a complete second faster than we did. He ran a 4.5 with a pulled hamstring.
Okay, so what we've learned here is we've learned that Doug and I are not professional athletes, and we've also learned that I am in terrible, terrible shape.
Yes.
We ran it a few times just to make sure that we got consistent times, that one time wasn't better, that we were easy on the dial.
No anomalies, yeah.
So we ran it 3 times, and I am still recovering. Like right now. We ran that probably 35 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago we ran those.
That changed you. You're a different person.
I'm feeling horrible.
Yeah.
And now last night I participated in some extracurricular activities, and I had a few adult beverages,
Yes,
which
that's
I think also contributed to my feeling this morning. And I think everything got a little mixed up when I ran that. I think it,
jostled some things around.
I think the heart was pumping some blood that had been saturated in some alcoholic contents.
Yes,
and I think that is really part of the reason I am in horrible shape. So I'm playing a little hurt today.
Yeah,
I wasn't. I mean, when you arrived,
you were fine.
I was in good shape, 100%. I was feeling a little, last night was a little rough, so I was kind of, whatever, but I was getting out of it. And then I ran, and then all that blood that had settled just got completely recircled around. And so now I'm feeling it, and I'm actually a little shaky. Running 3:40s, man. That's how bad this is getting.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to say, just for my own sake, I feel like my time would have been significantly faster if I could have popped my shirt off. I feel like usually when I run the
drag there.
Yeah, I feel like usually when I run the 40, I like to go shirtless. But I don't know if that would have been appropriate in the neighborhood. I don't want to, cause too much trouble. I don't want people coming out of their houses wondering what's going on. But usually I like to give, let my hairless chest be sleek. Add some sleek aerodynamic qualities. And I feel like it improves my time.
That's true. So beyond the 40s that we ran today, a few things that we're going to be running down on today's podcast. I got some baseball NCAA tournament just around the corner. We're going to talk a little bracket there, and Wichita State finishing the year 31-0. What else have we got? A little NBA. Jerry West is in the news, Mr. Logo, along with a little baseball. It's back. Spring training's here.
Yeah.
And there's a few things to talk about baseball-wise, a few rule changes that I'd like to introduce to everybody in the spirit of the game. But let's first go to... We want to talk more combine, right? We want to talk more. Was there any other times? Who was the guy who ran the 4.2?
The guy from Kent State. So he ran almost as fast as Chris Johnson did, which is the fastest time ever. Now
I want to talk now that we've got all the 40 stuff. It appears as though in the NFL Combine, that's what a lot of the focus is on. Now, I personally haven't really paid much attention to the Combine.
I haven't either.
Watching the NFL Combine is so difficult. Well, it's so difficult, first off, because they're not really playing anything. They're running, quarterbacks are throwing to receivers with no defenders. I mean, I could throw passes with no one guarding anyone.
Yeah.
And we have all this data and we have all this information from the draft, and it's like, ooh, this guy ran this fast, this guy did this many reps, this quarterback can throw this far. But when you listen to the people who know what they're talking about and you hear the scouts that you trust, none of these numbers really correlates to any of these teams' feelings on these players. There's a lot that go into this, and it's almost impossible to gain any information on your own watching the draft, watching the Combine. So I just pretty much have ignored it.
Yeah, I think what I read this week was basically they said that the people who know what they're talking about don't put any stock into the Combine. I mean, they want it to confirm certain things that they have suspicions about, like if they think this guy's maybe not fast enough to play on the NFL level, maybe the 40-yard dash will help confirm some things that they're already suspicious of, but nothing like moves the needle the way ESPN makes it seem like, oh my God, like this guy ran a 4.2, like he, nothing, I mean, very, very rarely will somebody just blow people away in the Combine that in a way that like dramatically affects their draft stock. That's what I took away from it.
I think that's true, and I think that also these players have pro days at their colleges,
which is
basically a combine with no cameras, which is where I have heard that they put a lot of energy into those, like players, especially quarterbacks, because they don't want to be judged on like a national level because it could hurt their drafts. I mean, like something bad could happen. So quarterbacks in the pro days is where they get a lot of their work done, like, for the pro scouts. And the combine, the quote underwear Olympics, is just kind of, I don't know, for the fans. I mean, I'm sure that there's some stuff that they evaluate, but I'm not sure how to analyze any of this. So I basically wait for the whole thing to blow over and then just listen to Ron Jaworski and just go with that. Like, yep, I'm sure that's exactly right.
Yeah. Like, I think the one guy who even cares about it, like Mel Kiper, who like would maybe actually have the expertise to make something out of all this information. Like, he would know what a 10-yard split is. I don't even know what that is. But he wasn't even there. So that shows how much it matters, really. He was like, nope.
Are so hungry for football that they're watching this.
They're watching guys run. What did you call it? The pajama, like
the underwear Olympics.
The
That's
underwear
what somebody
Olympics,
called it. Because these guys just in spandex, just running fast. And I mean, although it is kind of impressive to watch, at times, maybe I'm in the minority here, but I find it incredibly boring. But people just demand this thing. I mean, it's bigger. It's bigger now than it has ever before. That it's ever been before. And is football so much popular that people,
I think so,
just will watch guys just run sprints? I mean, it's unbelievable how important this is to our culture. I mean, football is gigantic. And
it's a whole week. They've turned it into like a week worth of programming. It's insane.
I was listening to a radio program and they were talking about how football is America's favorite sport. I don't know how this is kind of terrible because I wasn't exactly sure how they conducted the survey, but it's America's favorite sport like 9 out of the 12 months.
Yeah.
Or 10 out of the 12. It was something like that. And the only months that it was not number one was May and June.
Oh, really?
I believe.
NBA? I would have said March.
It's NBA and the beginning of baseball. And April, I think. But now that they're moving the draft to May, like, baseball's going to be gone. It might be all 12 months or maybe only 1 month where the NBA is in June. That might be the only month where it's not America's favorite sport.
I'm sure that's the way they want it to be. This doesn't seem like an accident. Those guys know what they're doing marketing-wise. I mean, I guess I'll give them credit where credit's due, but I don't really care about people running in spandex.
No, me either. And I think, and maybe I'm in the minority because I like all the sports. I think they're great. And although I do love football, I think we're all kind of inclined to pay more attention to football because the media puts so much emphasis in it and we all care about it. So it's like the more everyone else cares, the more you have to care. So it's this kind of this snowball effect of caring.
Yeah, it's like it's the fear of missing out.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I guess the irony being is that we actually thought people would care about our 40 times. So we actually ran them.
And they might. Well, now everyone knows how fast we are.
Yeah, which is... I'm a rare combination of slow... You know how some guys are like a rare combination of power and strength?
Yeah.
Or power and speed? I'm like a rare combination of slow weakness. Like, that's like... Not only do I not have speed, but I'm also I don't know if I could bench press 150 pounds.
The reps total is 250, I believe.
Okay, yeah, that mine would be 0.
I don't think I could do that.
No.
I know I can't. What's the most you've ever benched?
I don't even know. I don't think I've tried for fear of knowing that reality. I don't want to know how weak I am because I think the delusion of maybe thinking I'm slightly stronger than I am will allow me to defend myself in certain situations. Or maybe I should know how weak I am so I know just to run away, but I can't really run away because I'm slow. So I would just get killed. I would not survive.
If there was survival of the fittest, you'd be dead.
Yeah, for sure. Unless I could somehow survive on my wits, but I don't know if those are much to write home about either.
We're just a couple of guys in here.
We wouldn't have made it if, people died. If it was still survival of the fittest. Luckily, we live in a society where we don't allow people to just be killed because they're weak.
Thank God.
There's not prey.
Like you and I would be dead.
Yeah, because we wouldn't be here.
Wichita State is 31-0. A lot of the talk on, especially talk radio, a lot of news stuff, is this big debate on whether or not Wichita State should be a number 1 seed. Their RPI schedule is way down there.
It's pretty weak.
Their conference is pretty awful overall. Yeah. They really have only 2 or 3 marquee wins.
Mm-hmm.
And they're 31-0. I believe the first team to do that since Larry Bird's Indiana State team.
Wow.
The first team to go complete undefeated through a season.
Oh, no. What about Duke? Didn't Duke go undefeated with Elton Brand one year? Or I don't know.
I'm all confused. I guess I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, they're the first team to do it in a while. Let's say that, at least.
Yeah, well, okay, so you were splitting hairs. There's a handful of teams who have ever done it. They chase history. And to me, this story of how they're not, how I think Wichita State is going to end up being the 1 seed. I mean, unless they lose in their conference tournament, which of course is extremely unlikely, but you never know.
Yeah.
One-off games in college basketball, weird stuff happens. But let's say that they do go undefeated. I've kind of got a problem with the fact that people wouldn't want them as a 1 seed. I understand the argument, but I don't really want to listen to it. The reason being because unlike football, where you've put a whole season of work in and to get the opportunity, there's only 2 teams that they give that opportunity to. So like when Boise State was doing what they were doing a couple years ago, I understood what everyone was talking about because their schedule plays much more of a factor into that position because if they would have gone, that means somebody else does not get to go.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, a 1 seed is a 1 seed.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
A 1 seed and a 16 seed, they theoretically have the exact same opportunity to get to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So making them a 1 seed, who cares? They've done their work. They haven't lost a game despite their schedule, which is not their fault. They were perfect. Mm-hmm. Like, why in the world would you not put them as a 1? It makes no sense to me because if they're a 2, they still have the same chance. You still have the exact same chance of going to the tournament. It's all on you once you get in.
Yeah, I guess maybe, I don't know, some people are afraid of a scenario where they embarrass themselves or something, but I mean, I don't know. I kind of agree with you. Like, it doesn't really matter that much. I mean, all the major conferences get play all the time. They always get the 1 seed, so why not just give it to a team who's a good story? It's like when they gave it to St. Joe's that one time, or, you know, I mean, like, I don't think it's the end of the world to give a weak conference team if they, like you said, handle their business. Like, give them a 1 seed. Who cares? It's a better story than giving it to, like, Arizona or, like, you know, a team who's maybe on the bubble a little bit who, you know, we know is going to be good in the tournament anyway and whatever. They've been the number 1 seed like a million times.
We love the tournament because it's the one time. Well, the NFL playoffs, you could argue, is also, there's nothing wrong with that either. But when it comes to the NCAA tournament, it's completely, like, no one's ever disputing the champion of the NCAA March Madness, you know, the tournament.
Yeah.
Because you won all your games. You handled your business. This isn't a beauty contest. It's not like college football where sometimes there's debate at the end of the year. This is just straight up win this tournament. And if you win it, then you're the champion. And it's that simple. So a 1 seed or a 12 or a 16 or a pigtail game team doesn't really matter. The tournament's ahead of you, and you've got the same chance. So, yeah, to make Wichita State a 1, I have no problem with that. They're the only team who hasn't lost a game.
Let them have that.
What's wrong with that?
It's a better story too, and I think like stories are kind of what we like about March Madness as well, like the you know, the underdog story or the Cinderella story or whatever. Like, and this is a good example of a team who is an interesting story. So let them have their day in the sun. Who cares?
And KU is might be a 2 that lost like they had last night to Oklahoma State. That might have dropped them down to a 2, but a lot of people still think that KU is the strongest team in the tournament.
Well, yeah, their team is comprised of the entire NBA draft, so that helps. They have every player in the top, I think, 10 picks of the NBA draft.
Yeah, they're great, and I understand where people are coming from when they're talking about KU. My point is that the tournament's the equalizer.
Yeah, and they've also been.
Hold up a second, Doug. Hold up. What is going on?
Oh, that was interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. My computer's just randomly making a bunch of racket.
Decided to chime in.
It was Flo from Progressive.
Should we have included it? I don't know.
No, we should have. We should have brought Flo on. She's in the green room right now.
We should have mic'd up your computer.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was talking about. I was saying that the tournament's the equalizer. So whether you put Wichita State at the 1 or the 2, like I don't know. That story was silly, and I actually got like upset about it.
And to be fair, like Kansas is obviously better. Like if they play to their potential, they're the best team. But, you know, they haven't played as well this season, so why would you reward them just because they have better players? It doesn't really make sense.
Test,
they've been inconsistent.
Yeah, the eye test needs to kind of stay out of it, especially in March Madness. Now, I see where people are talking about with football, like I said, because not everybody gets a chance.
Yeah.
Or that's how it used to be. Now we have the 14 playoff, which is going to set up a whole new, now there's going to be a problem with the 5, the problem, we're just going to kick the can down the road when it comes to college football. But for basketball, everybody's in. They all have the exact same chance to get to the Final Four.
Yeah, I feel you on this one. I'm down. I'm down with your point.
Wichita State, I'm a Kansas guy, and although Wichita State, they're all right. I like Wichita State, from being from Kansas. Obviously Kansas State's my team, but kind of rooting for them. It's kind of a cool story. You don't see a team like this pop up every now and then, or very often.
Yeah.
And 31-0, that's impressive. Whether you're Indiana State or Duke or Wichita State.
Yeah, because like you said, that's 31 chances where you could have just had a bad night, and they didn't. So
exactly, because you've got a target on your back, especially in that conference. Who wants to take down the undefeated team?
Yeah.
Every night you got a
Everybody.
target, and in college basketball, and I'd say basketball is more conducive to an upset than football or even baseball because a team could get hot from 3. When you come to the same level, of course. Missouri Valley team, who's to say some team just couldn't hit 15 threes in a night and upset them?
Yeah,
It's just one night like that.
We know it's more conducive to upsets. That's why there's so many in the tournament.
Yeah, it's great. And
I think they should put Wichita State and Kansas in the same bracket.
And Kansas State.
Yes.
Here's an interesting stat. My friend and I were talking on the phone. Now I don't want to jinx it because there's I think 2 more games in Kansas left. Now that Wichita State's done, I don't know where the Missouri Valley tournament is, but there is Northern Colorado and San Diego State. They're the only 2 teams that have won a basketball game in the state of Kansas. Other than, of course, the 3 teams inside of it.
That's pretty cool.
Kansas State, Kansas, and Wichita State have all been undefeated at home with the exception of K-State losing to Northern Colorado and KU losing to San Diego State. Other than that, they've won every game at home.
That's
all
cool.
3 teams. That's unusual. That's wild.
It's a shame they lost to 2 such crappy teams, San Diego State and
I know.
Northern Colorado.
Northern Colorado.
I
That's
didn't even know
K-State's
that was
first
a college. I've never heard of that college ever.
Started off 0-1 this year. Northern Colorado.
Right out of the gates.
I looked up their results because I thought, well, maybe it's one of those teams that's like really awesome. No, they're like 500. They're not going to make the tournament.
Yeah. That sounds right.
That was just a really bad loss.
That sounds right for Northern Colorado.
Yeah.
Honestly.
But no, all 3 teams from Kansas are going to be in the tournament. Yeah, it'd be funny if they.
Did you think did you think K-State was just doomed when that?
Oh
happened?
my God! You should have seen the pan. Everyone was just like, "Oh boy."
Yeah, here we go.
Lost to Northern Colorado because if you remember right, Kansas State lost to North Dakota State in football in our first game. That was what do you call them? A 1AA team or it was a
1AA.
1AA team. You can't lose to those teams.
No.
And then we ended up going to a bowl game and beating Michigan. It's just like, can we not schedule these directional schools for the first game? It's a little tough.
Yeah.
This is old news, but good news. The coach from the speed skating coach. This is some Olympic talk. The speed skating coach from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
He had he was talking to a reporter, I believe, about the United States and their poor performance. Like I said in the last podcast, United States had won a speed skating medal of some kind every year since 1984, and this was the first year that we had not done that. Oh God, what's his name?
I think we have
Enema.
I don't think his name is Enema.
Anema.
Yeah, that doesn't. I doubt his name is Enema.
Gillert. This is why people hate us because I can't pronounce Jillert Anema.
Yeah,
Gillert Enema. Okay, he's Dutch speed skating coach and here's his quote.
I think we actually have a clip of it. Can we play the clip?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay,
please play the clip.
There's foreign der Herring bij hier.
Yeah?
Ja, het is foreign je bent geschreven de hier go voor. Ja, het is voor je bent horing de burg. Ja. Is a linoleum is my linoleum.
Okay, so that wasn't. That was a bit. I have to admit, that was a bit, Mikey. That wasn't the Holland coach. That was the Swedish chef from the Muppets, which is possibly a little bit insensitive toward the differences in their cultures. I realize that Sweden is a different country, but that's what it kind of sounded like to me when the guy said the following, which is, I think you have the actual quote here.
Yeah, you have a lot of attention on a foolish sport like American football, and you waste a lot of talent, athletic talent, on a sport that is meant to kill each other. Now, It's unusual because we love this sport. We are willing to watch guys who are not even professionals yet run around in spandex.
Yes.
On the hopes that they might come to our team. And the rest of the world doesn't get it.
No, at all. He also went on to put America as a whole on blast for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're so narrow-minded, and then you want to compete against the world. When you waste a lot of time, good talent on a sport like that sucks.
Sucks.
Excuse me, good talent on a sport that sucks.
Yeah.
This, I thought it was hilarious.
I did too.
It was a good laugh.
It was so funny.
Because, because here we are running 40s to compare ourselves, because we're so into it. We love this thing up and down. And unfortunately, we don't get to play the world in this sport because no one else does it.
But it kind of speaks to what you were saying. Like, the thing you like about the Olympics is that we don't care.
Yeah.
And we still win a lot of times. Like, I'm sure that is what creates this, like, just this guy is like a boiling kettle. He's just been thinking about this for 4 years, and he just finally, like, he gets his chance to be on MSNBC or whatever he was on, and just explodes. He's like, I've got a bone to pick with you guys, and I'm just going to put the whole country on blast right now. And he just talks for like a 5-minute rant about just how much he hates us. It's like he just could not take it anymore.
His bulletin board material every day before that guy teaches his kids how to skate, he's got a map of the United States right above his light switch on his room. Just like, I can't wait to take him down. He got his chance. And then just put American football on blast.
Yeah. That's what he I mean, I get what he's saying, I guess. But I mean, is speed skating really a better, less stupid sport than football?
I see foot racing. I understand why that would be like. I could understand an argument as like that's like the best sport because that's like
purest.
It's the purest thing. Like who can run from here to there and get there first?
Yeah,
I get that. But I don't know. Like you got to watch a game or two. I mean, it's not just everybody smashing each other just to smash them. I mean, there is strategy. There's a lot of minutia into a game.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a really fun time with football? This is completely sidetracked, but this is how I was kind of thinking about somebody who has never watched a game before.
Uh-huh.
It is so fun watching a game with somebody who's never seen a game or doesn't know much about it, and you're explaining like a first down. That's like a really fun experience. I've done that just a handful of times. I was talking to a foreign exchange student in a crowd and having to explain, like, you get 3 tries to go 10 yards. I mean, because we all know, even the girls in this culture that don't even like football know that if there's a touchdown, they know you get first downs. They know that you're passing it or you're running it. Like, they know the basics. But to watch somebody who's, like, never seen it before, it's an absolutely hilarious experience, and I think someone needs to watch this game with this guy and maybe show him that, hey, we're not just barbarians here.
I would love to watch a football game with that guy. It would be hilarious. He would probably be so angry the whole time. It would be awesome.
We had to get that guy mic'd up.
Yeah.
I hope, what would be really hilarious is the NFL just sent this guy some tickets.
Yeah. Just have him sit in the front row.
Because we play a couple games in London.
Yeah.
I don't know who's on tap this year. We always give them the crappy games, by the way. We give them, London, get ready for the Jaguars and the Bucks. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Can we send them, like, the Patriots or, the Seahawks or somebody? Can we give them somebody good?
I guess we just want to turn, like, they realize that it's such an event to them that maybe they'll go even if it's terrible, like, for the novelty of it. They don't realize how horrible the Jaguars are. Whereas here, like, you couldn't pay. I don't think if you could literally pay people to go to a Jaguars game. They'd be like, no, I don't want to. No.
Well, they're probably.
I'd rather just stay at home.
I can see them moving too.
I hope they should.
Jaguars will probably go to London, and they'll be the the Colonials, or I don't know what will they be?
Oh my God, that would be the worst.
That's totally a radio bit.
Yeah.
Name the team for and then all these like the Redcoats or something. The bad teeth, really stupid.
Yeah, call in and tell us what you think. Jaguars name if they move to London. Go.
Yeah. This is Mike and the Mad Dog. Yeah, we send that guy a couple tickets.
Yeah.
Pick him up.
I love that dude. He's my friend.
The USA, man.
Yeah.
We're not liked.
He's my boy.
Talk a little NBA. Little rule changes coming up. They've talked about adding a 4-point play and expanding the court, and even changing the draft in the NBA. A lot of tanking and stuff like that.
Yeah, tanking is just out of control this season.
Now, I want to go to these. I want to first start off with this NBA rule changes. and I want to get into that. They're talking about expanding the court, although I want to preface this whole thing and say that it is extremely unlikely that any of these things are going to happen. Expanding the court or the 4-point play.
Yeah.
I think this was just to get everybody in a tussy, and we're falling right into line here.
Yeah.
But they're thinking about maybe moving the court, making it larger, which I'm sure would do nothing but make scoring more
easier.
Thank you. And a 4-point line, a 4-point shot. There's no way that's going to happen. But the expanding the court for some reason seemed like one of those things that I could see the NBA trying to do.
Yeah, the 4-point shot was like a guy who was drunk at the conference, and he was like, "Hey, what about 4-pointers? Anybody?" And they were like, "Fine, we'll put it on the agenda. We'll like that's never going to happen."
Yeah, they won't do that. But I was actually a little bit worried. The NBA is really into making it easier to score. Mm-hmm. That probably is the right thing to do, but I'm not wired that way. I like a smaller court, a larger shot clock. I don't know why they have defensive 3 seconds. I mean, I know why they have it, but I don't understand why that's such a bad thing.
Well, they don't want people playing a full zone. They don't want people standing in the middle of the lane and clogging it up. But, you know...
I understand why. I know why they don't like it. Because they want scoring. They want people to drive to the lane and make crazy plays.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why you make all these rules to limit the game coming out a little bit more pure. There's that word. But I don't know. That's just kind of how I gear. So I would be extremely against it, like expanding the court. But the NBA is really into rule changes. And
I guess they're looking to the future. And if you have guys like Kevin Durant and LeBron James like running around and everybody is that size... and can handle the ball like that and can kind of, you know, get up and down the floor that quickly, like it might be a situation where just because of the way human athletes evolve, like the court just might be too small. Yeah. You can't have 5 centers out there like your point guard's like 6'9" and like everybody else is like 7 feet, just all like running around. Like the court would be claustrophobic.
Well, yeah, but you still would put ball handlers in there.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying like guys like KD and LeBron just didn't exist. Like even like in the 90s, like Karl Malone was like, everybody looked at him, they're like, this guy is a beast. He's huge, et cetera, et cetera. But like LeBron James plays like almost like a point forward version of him, and he's bigger than Karl Malone. Like that guy just didn't exist when the court was created. So I mean, I think that's what they're looking at. But I don't know if expanding it would be that big of a deal. I mean.
It's just more space. You're just creating a lot more room, which would mean that people probably have easier lanes to the hoop.
I kind of like that style. I mean, as long as they didn't make it drastic.
It would only be like probably a foot or two in each direction. Now, at the same time, they did acknowledge the fact that a lot of these stadiums are built specifically for the court dimensions. Yeah. And it would be really difficult to expand it width-wise. Yeah. Length-wise, which... I don't really know what that would do. I feel like width would do more than length.
Yeah, I do too. That's where they really need it. Because, I mean...
Yeah, because all you're doing is basically just elongating the middle of the court, which is where like 10% of the basketball game is played anyways.
Yeah, you want to be able to spread the half-court offense is what you're trying to do, and that's all width.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad idea.
I don't think we need to worry about it. His quote, he basically said that, no one in the NBA nor the competition committee has any serious conversations about increasing the size of the floor or adding a 4-point line. This is just kind of talk, but this is just kind of that thing about the NBA. Like, I do appreciate about the NBA that they're willing to move a little bit. Yeah. And do some things. I think this is just kind of an extreme example of the fact that we'll look at anything, but
apparently Adam Silver, the new commissioner, is a very progressive guy, and he's into new ideas, and so I think that's cool. The 4-point shot's ridiculous. That would just promote all sorts of weird chucking where people would just like you don't want it to seem like pickup basketball, so that'll never happen. But yeah, that's another possibility. The draft thing is interesting too.
I saw a quote when I was just thinking all these rule changes. I saw some guy talking about how they thought that the 3-point line ruined basketball. And I've been kind of thinking about this lately. And I think if it was up to me, I might take the 3-point line out. What? It just sounds stupid and blasphemous, but at the same time, like the game would be a lot more inside. It would just be... I don't know. I can appreciate the simplicity of it. It's already simple enough, and this is kind of a stupid point, kind of making me look like an idiot. But I don't know. Like, I think I'd like to watch at least a couple of games and see what I thought of no 3-pointers, because a few things would change. Lineups would get way huge.
Maybe
get bigger, because you wouldn't need as much. You wouldn't need as much outside shooting guard play. It'd be all try to get the ball as close as you can to the basket.
Yeah,
which probably wouldn't be as aesthetically as fun to watch.
No, dude. Threes are extremely exciting.
Right, threes are so exciting. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of got into that kick. I watched a Larry Bird, Magic Johnson documentary, and I kind of got pumped up.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I'm just like, oh, dude, they should do this.
Yeah. And
Speaking of which, this has nothing to do with anything, but I was watching that thing, and Larry Bird was really, like, those guys back in the day made really cool looking passes.
Yeah.
Like, no one passes the ball like those guys did.
Rondo. You ever watch Rondo?
I guess not enough.
Dude, he's like a wizard. Like, the stuff he does on the basketball court is just insane sometimes. The passes he makes. I saw this one yesterday where he did a inlet pass, like, so he was trying to feed the guy down low, and he was at the top of the key, and he did it by putting this weird English on the ball. So it he threw it one direction and it bounced, and because of the spin on it, it bounced back into where the guy needed the ball, like right into his hands. It was like amazing.
Whoa.
But yeah, dude, Larry Bird.
Yeah, he's throwing half quarters behind his back, like passes behind his back. It's just
Larry Bird and Magic Johnson are like the two best. I mean, two of the like literally the best passers ever. So yeah.
Well, you're right. That probably that made me probably why I thought that, like, man, everybody just passed awesome back then.
Yeah.
When it's like, no, you're just watching the two of the guys on the Mount Rushmore.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the most underrated part of Larry Bird's game is his passing was off the hook.
It was insane to watch and I almost. To my embarrassment, knew very little about those guys. I hadn't watched a lot of old footage or anything on them, and I saw this documentary, and it really opened my eyes. Like, the dudes back then could ball too. Now, we get really wrapped up into LeBron, and we get wrapped up into, like, today's game.
Yeah.
But, back then, I think those guys could easily transition into this game. Oh, obviously those two, but I'm saying even the players of before could transition into this ball and still be extremely effective.
Yeah. The game looks different because they didn't have the knowledge of how to play it like they do now.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously those guys would still be great.
Now, I want to pause this for a moment because there's a few things that Jerry West had said, but I want to go and talk about these draft rule changes before we get into some of this talk about what we're talking about now, the game now versus the game back then.
Okay.
The rule changes in the NBA draft. We've got a lot of tanking issues.
Yes, it's insane.
A lot of teams just throwing games, which is what we believe, that no one would ever say that that's what they're doing. But just by watching them play and by watching their front office make moves, we could just say these guys are trying to get more ping pong balls.
The Philadelphia 76ers have a D-League team playing in the NBA. Like, they've gutted the... you could literally trade this couch for the entire roster of the 76ers.
That's a really nice couch.
It is a nice couch. I'm not.
It's a pull-out.
No shots fired at the couch. I mean, yeah, it's got the sleep feature. That's nice. And that's why I think it would be a legitimately good trade for the 76ers if they traded 75% of the roster for it.
They have got some work to do, and it's going to happen to come through the draft. People talk about this draft class and everything. What is the thing that needs to be done to stop this, Doug?
I don't know. Like, I've read quite a few proposals. There's been ideas about maybe some sort of tournament where, you play for the first pick. Like, the teams that don't make the playoffs play for the first pick, so they have an incentive to still be good. And keep a quality team on the floor so that when the draft, like when it's time for the NBA draft, they have to play up to that level. I've heard this wheel proposal is interesting. It's kind of complicated. I don't know if we want to get into it, but you basically you'd be drafting in a tier with like 5 other teams, and those tiers would rotate just on a 30-year wheel. So, like, if it was your time, you would be drafting in the top tier. You could get the first pick or the second pick or the third pick or the fourth pick or the fifth pick based on, what your record is. But if you weren't if the wheel wasn't on your tier, you would be drafting from like 21 to 22 to 23 to 24 to 25. So basically that would incentivize people to be like, well, we suck this year, but we have no chance of landing the number 1 pick, so we might as well try to put a competitive product on the floor. because our fans would rather see that than some horrific sideshow.
You're right. I don't know how big of a problem it is. Obviously for me as kind of a casual, I'd say no, I'm more than a casual NBA fan, but I like to watch the really good teams, so I don't spend a lot of time watching the bad teams. But knowing what it's like to like bad teams, you want to watch your team every night. And I feel bad for those fans who are diehard 76er fans, and they're not even watching their team try at all.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't even get a team this year. It's just,
Yeah. These guys are just going to be standing on the court when a game happens to be taking place, but they're not going to be really doing anything. For me, but I think like NBA fans are pretty smart as a whole. Like I feel like they're pretty knowledgeable, and I think that I think a lot of them understand that you don't want to be in the middle. Like for me, like the Mavs have, rather just gone to Dirk and been like, okay, look, like we blew it. We didn't get Dwight Howard. We didn't get Darren Williams. Our plan didn't work. We'll trade you to somebody good and we'll just blow it up and start over again. Like that almost is more exciting. They would never do that because they don't have a pick this year. But like, that's more exciting than being a team that is like 8th, 7th seed and they're going to get swept in the first round, because that's just nothing. You want to have a chance to win it all or be making progress towards a team.
And that's a whole other thing, because I like the NBA playoffs, except for they need to eliminate teams. They have too many teams, or at least make a smaller series in the first round.
Yeah.
They've got to go. I think the first 2 rounds should be best of 5 if you're going to keep that amount of teams. If you're going to keep 8-8, 16 teams, over half the league making the playoffs, like you've got to make the first 2 rounds get best of 5s.
Well, and I don't know what that would do.
Threes, or something like, because it is just a complete waste of time. Because all we're doing is just waiting for the Pacers and Heat to meet in the Eastern.
Well,
Conference
we talked
Finals.
about it.
We're just wasting time.
We just talked about it last week,
or
exactly. Maybe 2 weeks ago.
So,
I like the idea of the 16 best teams playing in the playoffs.
No, it's overkill in the NBA, especially when we know that there's 5 to 6 teams that could win it.
Yeah,
and that's it. I just feel like the rest of it's kind of silly. And my knock in baseball is that the playoffs are too short. You play that mammoth season, and then it's like we have 5 seconds of the playoffs and it's over.
Yeah,
they need to make the first round best of 7. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to bore everybody with that, because that's like my one thing, and I always talk about it. But I want to move on to, because really they'll do something about tanking. I really feel like they're going to. This is going to be an A1 issue for the NBA, is getting teams to incentivize them to win even when they're kind of out of it.
But part of it also is just like there are just certain organizations that will never be good because they have bad owners. And if you have a bad owner, as a Dallas Cowboys fan, I can tell you this firsthand, your team will never be good. It's just, that's the way it is. So, right. Some of the tanking will be like, no matter what, it'll just be perpetual because that's their only hope at becoming good. Yeah, because they don't know how to run an organization any other way than to just like hopefully get lucky enough to like make up and override their suckiness. But,
Here was a couple of interesting. Here was an interesting quote. Jerry West, Mr. Logo, the NBA guy. He had an interesting quote here, and this kind of goes along to what we were talking about earlier. His quote is: "This is He's talking about the NBA here. So this is the weakest I've ever seen the league, the weakest. And depending on people who go to school for and we're depending on people who go to school for a year to come in and change the fortunes of a franchise. Rarely does that happen."
Says the guy who drafted Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
Out of high school.
Well, he said rarely. He didn't say it never happens.
Yeah.
He said it rarely happens. Now, I thought this guy was just senile, and it appears as though he's just he's just kind of upset because a lot of these players coming out of college
are not ready.
Are not, I don't know, wearing a suit and tie or something. He said they're not as mature, as like the guys who are play for 4 or 5 years that come out of the NBA. And I just thought it might be one of those guys like kind of stuck in his time and doesn't understand the new trends. But then a couple people that I actually kind of respect the opinion of, Charles Barkley and Jay Billis, these were quotes that were kind of dug up. Mm-hmm. Charles Barkley had said on the NBA, this was earlier in January, he said, "The NBA sucks right now. I mean, I get paid to watch these games, and I actually have to sit down and study the games to see 2 quality teams play. It's embarrassing for me to watch, and I feel bad for the fans." Now, I really appreciate Chuck's point of view. And when he said that, I was actually a little surprised. Like, is the NBA, is the level of play right now not that good?
I don't know.
Because Charles Barkley's not, I mean, he loves LeBron.
I think part of it, maybe the way they feel, the reason they feel, what did Jay Bills say real quick?
No, Jay Bills, he was talking about NCAA basketball, so this is a little bit more of the draft. But he said the quality of play in the NCAA isn't keeping pace with the quality of players and coaches in the game.
Okay.
So when these guys say something like that, am I thinking is basketball suffering? Because the NCAA numbers have kind of gone down. Like college basketball is actually decreasing a little bit in popularity. And is it the quality of player? What is going on here?
Well, yeah. I mean, the guys who are in college for 1 year and leaving, you don't have any ability to build team chemistry, and you're just not getting better as a player. Like a guy who's a junior is obviously going to be better than he was when he was a freshman. Almost all the time. That's just a reality. So NBA college play is definitely suffering. I think it's really, really low. And, in terms of the NBA, like, it's interesting. Maybe they feel that way because there's so many crappy teams this year. Like, the East is just abysmal. It's just a wasteland of just nothingness. Like, the East is so bad. And the West is really good, but, I mean, maybe that just ends up making it look lopsided, or the fact that you just have so many teams that are openly tanking right now, that hurts like the way people feel about the game. I think it reeks a little bit of like, in my day, things were better, but at the same time, like, there are a lot of really good superstars, and a lot of them came at it all sorts of different times. See, and I wonder if that's what he's talking about. I wonder if Charles Barkley is talking about the NBA's bads or the best of the NBA when he says the NBA sucks. Is he talking about like Miami playing OKC, like the NBA sucks right now, or is he talking about the New Orleans Pelicans and the Utah Jazz playing a game? It's like, I don't know if he's talking about like the bad East teams, or if he's talking about like the good, like the levels of high are not as good as they've been. I think the levels of high are as good as they've always been. If not better. I mean, LeBron freaking James, man. I know. I think those are good, but you have like kind of a income gap, or like a wealth discrepancy. Like the rich teams are doing. This is not about money. I don't know why I said it that way, but like the good teams are doing really good, and the bad teams are doing really bad. Part of it is this whole tanking for this draft, which everyone said is like the deepest draft in years, but part of it's also just like, man, just like the East has been bad for a while now, and then this year with the tanking on top of it, it's just like I'm sure like Charles Barkley having to sit down and watch a fucking like Knicks game is just horrific. Like, I would never want to watch that, and I love basketball, and I like some of the players on those teams, but there's just like, it's just awful quality. Yeah, I think that maybe that's what they're talking about. It made me a little concerned when Jay Bills was talking about this. Even Jerry West was talking about how bad he thinks the draft class isn't good this year. Now, well, I think we're starting to see that a lot of these guys are not exactly super ready. Now I'm actually flipping a little bit on my draft position. As you know, I'm all about making the players stay like 4 to 5 years, like just as many years in the college basketball as possible. You have to get your PhD. But now I'm actually going around the other way, because I actually thought of what my decision, if it were up to me and I said that the NBA should hold all these, or that the college should make them play. NBA should not allow them to come into the league unless they have played 3 years of college basketball. Mm-hmm. You're talking about an extremely small percentage that go professional. There's 60 kids get drafted. Yeah. You could argue that the last 20 picks are kind of irrelevant. Mm-hmm. You're taking the top 40 players in college basketball who are mostly playing for teams as the like of Kentucky, Kansas, Syracuse, Duke, North Carolina, UCLA, so on and so forth, named big programs. That's where a lot of the college talent's coming from. All you're really doing is just making those better than everyone else. Because no one is really that affected other than the teams that are landing high-quality recruits. So making the guys that go to the pros have to stay longer, all that would do is just create more separation from teams like Kansas and Kentucky, or than it would everybody else. And for me personally, who's got a vendetta against Kansas, that would be miserable. Although, is that true? Because think about it this way: if Anthony Davis is still playing in Kentucky right now because he has to, they don't get Nerlens Noel. They don't get, it would affect who you were able to recruit from that point on, because you have this superstar player and nobody's going to play over him. These kids want minutes, so maybe they would go to, Louisville, or maybe they would go to Kansas State, or maybe they would go, I think that you actually might end up, because you'd have like entrenched college star players, you would have maybe a dispersion of talent, actually.
That's an interesting thought. At the same time, those are going to be magnets for maybe other great players that go, it's like, well, I got to do college now. I mean, there's no one and done, so I might as well win while I'm here. I know that Nerlens Noel or Joel Embiid or whoever is wherever, and I want to go there because I want to be playing with the best players.
Yeah.
And for being a fan of a college basketball team that does not land those types of players, it only seems like a nightmare having to go up against 3 or 4 NBA players when you got just a bunch of college guys and you don't even have experience over them because they've been playing college basketball for 4 years because they have to. It just seems like a nightmare scenario that at first I was all about make college basketball better, make the draft better because these players have had a longer time of evaluation. The NBA scouts have had a longer time of evaluation. But now it just seems like it would just overload college basketball programs. Duke would just be exponentially better than everybody else. If they've got LeBron, think about LeBron playing 4 years, in college basketball with other great talent.
Averages 50 points a game.
You wouldn't be, he said he would have went to Ohio State had he have gone. We would have just watched Ohio State win 3 national titles in a row, and that's not very much fun at all. Well, it would have been fun to watch him play, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, so I don't know.
I'm kind of flip-flop now.
And I'm kind of like I said, the way I feel about it is like I think it would help the NBA. I think it would help college basketball. Both would be helped by having a higher age limit, and yet it's hard for me to just tell a kid like this is what you can and can't do. But at the same time, I guess if you want to play in this particular organization to have this particular job, that's what you have to do. So it's not the end of the world. I mean, I'm sure. Yeah. I think we're going to see at least another year at it soon.
We know that the NBA is getting more popular, and we also know that college basketball is kind of either stalling or losing in popularity. Wouldn't it just be better if, like, college basketball just adopted NBA rules? Shorter shot clock. I mean, if that's what people want to watch is scoring. Like, why not just make the shot clock shorter?
That's interesting. I think there might be a problem because you don't have as many good ball handlers, shooters, etc. Like, it might just get really turnover heavy.
Yeah, you're right.
It could get really sloppy.
That's true. And see, but I like college basketball and I like to watch it. So it's like, for me, it doesn't seem like there's a problem. But when you look at things on a global scale, you look at it much larger picture. If college basketball is having problems, like, why don't they just turn to the one basketball programs that are having success? The National Basketball Association.
Well, I think the problem stems from what we were just talking about, which is they don't have very many good players.
Well, and that's that's why
it's not the days when you had Patrick Ewing, staying at Georgetown for 4 years, going against some other 4-year star, and it's like this huge, like, oh shit, like this is crazy, like, those games don't exist.
Yeah,
and that's a problem.
Yeah, well,
star power is a big part of why we watch anything.
Well, we're going to watch college basketball here in a bit. Like, conference tournaments are going to be happening next week, not this week, but the next, and it's going to be good. Little baseball. Few things I wanted to talk about here.
Okay.
Ozzie Smith baseball holiday. Now, I don't want you to say one thing.
Okay.
Ozzie Smith is trying to get a petition of 100 or 300,000 or whatever is required signatures to make the opening day of baseball a federal holiday. Mm-hmm. And before you say anything, I want to tell you what you're going to say.
Okay.
This is me as Doug. This is disgusting. Just make sports incorporated in our holidays. This is why everybody hates us when we put sports above everything else. I can't even believe it that they would consider this. It's not even the most popular sport. I don't know why they're doing it. And that's me as you.
And scene. That's good.
And cut.
That's pretty close to what I was going to say. I also would have added that Ozzie Guillen is pushing this. Ozzie Smith,
the wizard, man.
I wish Ozzie Guillen was pushing it. That would be amazing.
No one would sign it because everyone would be scared of him.
Yeah, they'd be like, "This is obviously an insane idea if this guy's pushing it." Ozzie Smith is pushing it, and I don't trust anybody who can do a backflip, so I would have added that.
Yeah.
Anybody who's spent time learning how to do a backflip, I just am inherently wary of them. He's also a wizard, which that incites magic, which is a trick.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he might be trying to trick me.
22 million people have admitted to playing hooky to get out of work or to get out of school or something over the age of 21 to attend an opening day baseball game.
Cool.
In America. The Wall Street Journal has released a poll saying 62.9% of people thinking opening day as a federal holiday is a good idea. Who is going to want to work and not work?
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean? It's like,
do
that
you want
makes
more
sense.
days off?
Yeah, like this all kind of makes sense. People love holidays. Like, why not make every day a holiday? This is great. A couple other facts about opening day. Did you know it's really it's a long shot for this holiday to get passed. It's probably not going to happen.
No.
It may go to the state level, and maybe it'll be a state holiday. I could see it being some sort of a low level, maybe in New York State or something. They have some little kind of holiday that you might be able to participate in. They might be able to get it on a calendar, but it might not actually be anything of real importance.
It's going to be Flag Day.
But, it took a really long time to get Martin Luther King Day as a holiday. And the 4th of July wasn't even a holiday until 1870. Now, we know we became a country in 1776. So we're talking 100 years to get our country's birthday as a holiday.
Good luck, Ozzy.
They actually, they had the first 4 holidays that came in: New Year's Day, Christmas Day, 4th of July, and Thanksgiving. That was like the big 4 in 1870.
As they're often referred to, the Big Four.
The Big Four? So... that was Ulysses S. Grant was the president when those came in. He thought it would be like a really good morale booster to kind of get everybody a day off and pump up America.
Shout out to Ulysses.
Yeah, Ulysses S. Grant talk on the Cooper and Rupert podcast. So it doesn't seem like this it appears to be kind of a novelty, but at the same time, this would be great if it was.
And the real truth is that it's being pushed by Budweiser.
Yeah,
and that's
great.
Is where it really comes from, because they want to make money.
See, now I'm all about having the opening day as a holiday, but if I really had to choose a holiday, it would be the day after the Super Bowl.
I'd rather have that.
That would be a little bit
more useful.
But I do love opening day. Like that is kind of a thing. Now, baseball, whether you like it or not, I know you think it's just a bunch of old men like it, a bunch of blue hairs watch baseball, which is mostly the truth. But that sport does take off with the most fanfare of all three. Mm-hmm. Like opening day of baseball is kind of that is in America. There's a lot of history in that day. It's kind of a thing, and whether you like it or not, it would be nice to have a day like that. I think it would be kind of cool.
We should have more days off in general. I mean, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think
Hell yeah! Preaching to the choir, man. I'm all about getting days off. So there's that. We'll watch how that progresses. Also, a couple new rules. Baseball. Spring training's here now. It's a snooze. It's something to not even really think about. But I was just looking up for my personal interest of is there really anything? Is there any correlation between good play and bad play from spring training? Can we get anything out of watching spring training baseball? And the answer that I came up with is no. Last year, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and the Dodgers were pretty bad, in spring training, like some of the worst teams, and they all made playoffs. And Seattle, the Rockies, and the Twins were all almost at the top. So there you go. There's really no correlation. There was also good teams at the top, good teams at the bottom, bad teams at the top, bad teams at the bottom. So really, there's really nothing you can read from spring training, so yeah, just wait till opening day.
Yeah, first of all, baseball doesn't need more games. Second of all, I have a beef with ESPN. Don't show me spring training highlights. Get out of my face with that.
Yeah, unless it's something going on, like somebody's hurt.
That's like if they showed you watched highlights of the Yankees Dodgers game or whatever, and they showed you highlights from batting practice. It's just B-roll, man. Gotta get that footage. It's better than watching a talking head. You're watching A-Rod take cuts off a tee. Well, A-Rod can participate in spring training. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. So there's that. I get kind of pumped up about baseball, but there's nothing to see here. It's like Groundhog Day, opening day of spring training. It's you pop your head out. Oh, got another 3 weeks of this crap, and then before we actually get to the business, and then from there it's like baseball, and then you've got 6 months of
and then you're like,
okay. Of the the slow ups and downs of the game, which I do like to watch, but there's so many games that one doesn't particularly have a lot of meaning. So
I don't understand. You're kind of like a masochist. I don't understand why you do this to yourself, where you watch just an entire season of Kansas City Royals baseball.
It's a curse. Liking sports is a curse. A couple rule changes that I wanted to bring to light just for everybody as we kind of talk a little baseball. There's the new rule about replay. This is old news. They're going to be doing replay in the games, which I think is good.
Yeah. Get in the 21st century.
Each coach has a challenge. After the 7th inning, if you're out of challenges, the umpires can elect to review.
Are they going to throw a flag?
I bet they'll probably just go out on the dugout. They'll just say challenge. They'll just go to the umpire, and to say challenge.
What if they just shot a pistol into the air?
That'd be exciting.
Yeah. A flare gun?
And I hope that they make some siren in the stadium, just like a woo when a challenge is happening. Baseball will figure something out, and it'll be incredibly boring. I thought about this. Will it change the game? Will it make it slower? Will it reduce umpire arguments? Because basically, there's no point in arguing anymore, because if you disagree with the call and you have a challenge,
Just challenge it.
Like, what are you yelling about?
Well, I guess, they still argue calls in the NFL, though, too. It's just depending on whether you want to use a challenge. Well,
usually those are penalties.
Yeah.
They argue a lot of penalties. But, like, when they actually challenge, they don't go yell at the refs before they throw the flag. Like, they just throw the flag. Mm-hmm. Each team's going to have a guy in the stadium, like, monitoring the things. The road, home, and away teams are going to have a guy in the booth, basically watching, like, a TV screen with replays. The replays will then go to an umpire crew standing in front of televisions in New York. They're going to be the ones who determine the plays. So let's say if somebody's out, or something, and they need to move batters, the guys in the booth in New York City are the ones that tell the umpires on the field what needs to happen. Hopefully this moves fast. Baseball's kind of got a problem with the slowness. I hope that this is a quick thing. It sounds like it's set up to be quick. The fact that you're making the on-field umpires not the guys to review it. They just put headphones on. Okay, got it, done. Mm-hmm. It should be fast. But I think, but reducing the arguments and things like that with challenges will be good. But hopefully within soon that they'll completely, everything will be challenged all the time, and we'll just go with that. Except for the strike zone. That'll always be a human. But other than that, I think everything should probably,
I'm just pushing for robot umps. I want to live in a world where...
and of course that'll never happen. And I've made the comparison. Baseball, NBA is over... Yeah. The NBA is like... they're kind of like the United States, in which they're trendy, they're happening. Like, there's a lot of ways to a lot of infrastructure going up. There's a lot of new ideas. And baseball is kind of like Europe. It's so history oriented that it's difficult to move it. And that's kind of like in Europe. I hear a lot of people say that there's not a lot of innovation over there because everything is so historic. You can't hardly move anything. And well, in America, we're so relatively new that you can kind of do crazy things, and we can try new ideas. And I think that's why the NBA and NFL get a benefit a little bit more from that. I think baseball's kind of cursed in the fact that it's been around since the mid 1800s. That's why they have such a difficulty going with new systems like replay.
Yeah,
because it's old white dudes own baseball, and it's old white dudes that own basketball, and it's old white dudes that own football. So, what's the common denominator? It has to be the sport.
Yeah, it's the fans are all wrapped up in the history and whatnot.
And I think that the people are too, and that are a part of that are a part of it. That's it, folks. That's today's episode.
Yeah.
We'll be back again next week. Mm-hmm. Oscars tonight.
Yep.
Basketball coming up. Rock and roll.
It's all good. I'm sure there'll be something.
Yeah, I hope you have a good week. There's videos on the website.
Yeah.
There is, everything's ready to go. So enjoy and tell everyone that Mikey, Rupert, and Doug Cooper now have a podcast. And we look forward to seeing you next Monday at this time.
Yes. See you next week.